What is going on, my dudes? Some major shit has happened. This is now Friday, January 8th. Is the first time I got to record since the magical day on the 6th. But I won't have time to edit and upload it today. I won't get to that till Wednesday, probably the 13th. So by the time I'm done with this, by the time you hear this, a lot of things might be out of date, and you've probably already heard it from all the other YouTubers who their job is YouTubing so they can do it faster than me. But that doesn't mean that what I have to say is important. Even if, I know hardly anyone watches these, but this is just me getting stuff off my chest so that, like, when shit goes down, it's like, you have it on record. I spoke out against all of this for years. I saw this coming. I warned about it. I don't claim to be the only one. I'm not the only seer or prophet on YouTube that is warning against all this stuff. So I will never claim that. But I'll go on the record saying, hey, I'm clear. I didn't do this crap. So Trump supporters broke into the Capitol. Wow. You know, it's interesting that this isn't the first time this has happened. I know Democrats have a short-term memory loss, and they deny reality. They the Democrats broke into the Capitol to protest the Kavanaugh nomination just 2 years ago. You remember that, right? I'll put it up on the screen. They act like that never happened. They did. They stopped the court proceedings for a while. They got hauled out.
Just as soon as Brett Kavanaugh's hearing began, so too did the protests. From the gallery and from Senate Democrats.
The Dems didn't have any condemnation. The Democrats not only flip-flopped on that, breaking into the Capitol Kavanaugh 2018, but they flipped on the principle of riots in the first place, because we saw riots for vast majority of 2020 across almost every major U.S. city, and the Democrats openly cheered for them. But then as soon as Trump supporters staged a riot, which was, to compare the two, is utter nonsense, because the Trump supporters killed, so one police officer died, just one, and they didn't burn any private businesses. As the YouTuber Young Ripa said, when Dems get mad, they just burn everything around them, their town, like Target or Wendy's, whatever. When Republicans get mad, they go to the source of the problem, which is the federal government. Dems say they're constantly fighting for justice and they need to burn everything down in order to build things back in the image that they want, and they're taken out against the man in the system. And who do they go against? Random bystanders, random businesses, the closest shop they can get their hands on that they can get to. I'm like, I think I've already said this in another video. That's like person A annoying person B constantly, and finally person B has it and just wallops person C for like no fucking reason. I'm like, okay, so you're taking violence, which I support in self-defense, but I'm not even saying Black Lives Matter self-defense. It doesn't make any sense. Target didn't do anything to you. Wendy's didn't do anything to you. You're just using it as an excuse to burn and loot. So, but Republicans, they don't do that. They go after what's causing the problem in the first place, and that is the federal government. The fact that the Republicans and Trump tried every single peaceful and legal method available to try to stop this fraudulent election results from being certified. They had numerous lawsuits. They tried to get numerous courts, including the Supreme Court, to listen to it. They didn't do anything violent for months. This election happened more than 2 months ago. November, was it 4th or 5th or something? Early November 2nd. I have to look at the calendar. They have not done anything violent for 2 months because they have been trying legal and peaceful methods. And at every single point, the system failed. At every single point, the Democrats blocked them for political reasons. They would go there to court and produce hours and hours of sworn affidavits saying all of this ridiculous shit happened during the election. Fraud, rigging, people getting shoved out of polling stations, the polling machines being rigged. They would demonstrate how you could hack the machine. They would do this for hours ad nauseum. Democrats would just sit there ignoring everything, and at the end saying, oh, well, there's no evidence, so we're not going to hear it. And I'm like, Democrats have been denying reality for decades now. That is nothing new. But to this extent, I know I say it so many times, there's a difference between a difference of opinion and denying reality. You can't just say whatever the fuck you want and then say, oh, it's my opinion, and so you can't judge me. It's not a fact, just an opinion, so you can't get mad at me. No, your opinion is objectively false. For example, you could say George Washington was not the first American president. Okay, that's your opinion. Your opinion's wrong. Because objectively, he was. Objectively, there was substantial evidence of voter fraud. Sworn affidavits are legally evidence. People have been convicted and put in jail on sworn affidavits. They consider that legal evidence. People have been put in jail on eyewitness testimony. That's what we saw in many court proceedings in many states: Michigan, Georgia, Arizona. Three off the top of my head, I thought I can think of. Oh, in Pennsylvania, four, at least four. We heard hours and hours and hours of eyewitness testimony about what happened and hundreds of sworn affidavits. And the Democrats just sat there, and for political reasons, if it was the other way around, of course they would be clamoring, bleeding that there was election fraud. But since it was their guy winning, they don't care. So this extent of denying reality has reached a new level. So after 2 months of trying everything legally and peacefully, the Trump supporters felt they had no choice but to storm the Capitol because they tried everything else. The election results were going to go through. They're like, this is fucking ridiculous. We have been trying to tell you guys for 2 months that this is a fraud and you won't listen to us. So we're going to make you listen. If 2020 taught us anything other than that Democrats are legally mentally retarded, it's that Democrats don't care about proceedings or rules or precedent or morals or values or the rule of law or anything like that. All they care about is the power of the mob. They bent the knee for Black Lives Matter because they violently rioted. They don't care if you have a peaceful protest, like the protest in Virginia back in 2019 for gun rights. That was completely peaceful. Didn't matter. Northam was still going to go with his bullshit. He's still going after his bullshit. Doesn't matter. Decorum doesn't matter. Manners, rule of law doesn't matter. It all cares about the mob. And so Republicans were like, okay, well, we tried everything legally and peacefully, and you guys ignored us, so we're going to do what you did. Alibi of much better, the correct way. But yeah, we're going to do that. The Democrats don't have any principles. Depending on the actor of the action and the person receiving that action in any given scenario you can think of, they will flip flop if it gives them more power. That's all they care about. Their only principle is power. And they don't care what double standards or flip flopping they have to do because their voters don't care. They deny reality. They don't care. All their voters care about is power. We have to get Orange Man bad out of office and put in Democrats and everything will be fine. That's what they think. It doesn't matter that they're hypocrites. They don't care. If you had to be a hypocrite to get Hitler out of power, wouldn't you do it? That's a small price to pay. The media has been telling us for 5 fucking years that Trump's Hitler, so it's brainwashed them into thinking that rigging an election is perfectly valid because you're stopping Hitler. If you could go back in time to stop Hitler from being elected, which he was legally elected before he became a dictator. You can look it up, I'm not making that up. Wouldn't you do that? And the average person's answer is, yeah, I would do that. Yeah, it's rigging a German election, but it's a small price to pay to stop World War II and the Holocaust from happening. That's the same way they're thinking. Like, yeah, we're lying like all the fucking time and we're rigging an election, but we're stopping Orange Hitler, so it's okay. The problem is when I can't talk. When Hillary Clinton designated Trump supporters as when Hillary called Trump supporters deplorables. This started ever since 2015 and 2016. The media and Democrats have been berating Trump supporters as stupid, inbred, hick, racist. They have been insulted all over national media, all over social media. They have lost their jobs. They have been denigrated. They have been kicked out of their jobs due to lockdowns, due to the lockdowns last year. They have been told they are the scum of the earth and they should just die in a ditch and the world will be better off without them. They have been told this for 4 fucking years. What happens when you tell roughly 30 to 40% of the population they can just fuck off and die in a ditch? Oh, and you can't feed your family, and your rights are being trampled on. What do you expect them to do? Oh, and you can't do anything through the courts. You can't do anything through petitioning the courts or asking law enforcement to help out protect your rights. No, you can't do any of that either. When you back someone into a corner under threat of violence, what do you expect them to do? Well, I know the Democrats want. Democrats want them to just bend over and take it and just not voice opposition to their maniacal communist Marxist ideas. That's what they want. But the natural person doesn't just bend over. It's like, I'm going to take away your right to work. You're going to be homeless. You can't own guns. You have no freedom of speech. Anything you say online that we don't like, we're going to censor. Oh, you can't meet in person either, talk about things because of lockdowns. We're going to have soldiers pointing guns at you at gunpoint to enforce quarantine. There's no court proceedings out that, so throw out like amendments 4, 5, and 6 for right to a speedy trial and a right to be judged by your fellow man. That's out the door too. None of these have any court proceedings. We're just going to do it. If we're going to do all these other things that the Constitution doesn't allow us to do, so oh, you're supposed to take it. Thing is, the Democrats project everything they accuse Republicans of doing or Trump supporters of doing, they are doing themselves, and they know it, but they're trying to deflect attention away from their own actions. When they call Trump supporters fascists, for example, or Nazis, when have Trump supporters ever said, Democrats, you shouldn't get the right to free speech. You shouldn't have the right to say what you want on the internet. You shouldn't have the right to assemble the way you want. You shouldn't have the right to worship how you want. You shouldn't have the right to own guns. You shouldn't have the right to have a speedy trial. When have Republicans or Trump supporters ever said any of this? Yeah, you might find one screenshot of some random hick saying that. Okay, I'll give you that. But when has Trump called for that? When has any Republican senator or House member called for that? Never. They don't do that. The Democrats do, though. They call every single fucking day. I see it just plastered all over social media. Them calling for Facebook and Twitter to censor whatever opinions they don't like, and whatever opinions they don't like change by the day. They're just going to give Facebook each morning. They're going to give Zuckerberg a list of things that they want censored, and Zuckerberg is going to bend over and do it. And Jack Dorsey and Twitter is going to bend over and do it. And Susan Wiki YouTube is going to bend over and do it. Boom, 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 boom. You can't post about topic A or B or C. You can't post about that on any social media. Well, that's okay. They're a private company. No one's stopping you from saying it. You can go to some random person and say it. Oh, but you can't meet at bars. Bars are closed because of COVID lockdowns. Can't go to a restaurant and talk to people. Can't go to sporting events and talk to people about it. You can't talk to anyone about it. We're not stopping you. We're just closing the town square physically and on the internet is gone. When they constantly complain about Trump trampling on the Constitution, he does. You gotta admit that. The federal government for the last several decades, coming on over half a century, has been trampling on the Constitution for quite some time. Not going to deny that. Reagan did it. First Bush did it. Second Bush did it. Trump did it. Fact is, Democrats do it too. Each party acts like, well, I'm the one protecting the Constitution. It's the other side that's not doing it. Nancy Pelosi constantly invokes we have to protect the Constitution against fascist Trump as she takes a steaming pile of shit on the Constitution literally every single day she works. Both parties are guilty of this for quite some time. Like I've always said, Eisenhower was the last president to actually be principled, and if you broke the Constitution, it was very minorly, and he was the last good president, in my opinion. That was back in the 40s and 50s. Actually, he may have started 50. I want to look it up. Oh, don't quote me. Oh, fact check. Robert was incorrect. Eisenhower didn't start in this year. He started in this year. Okay, that's not the point on when he started. What it matters was his policies and his way he was president. That was before almost anyone who ever hear this was born. Okay, that's how long ago we didn't fuck up. A rule is only as good as its enforcement. You can make the most awesome rule ever created that would bring peace and harmony on earth and everyone is fine. But if you have no way enforcing it, it means jack fucking shit. The Constitution is the best legal document we have for creating a government that we have ever seen. There may be one better we haven't made yet. I don't know the fucking future, but it's the best one we have come up with to this point. So we'll go with that until we can find a way to do something better. But it doesn't matter if it's the best document that we've had in human history. If you don't enforce it, then it's useless. And that's a problem we've had for quite some time. Decades and decades and decades ago, up close to a century ago, we started chipping away at it. It's like, oh, this one problem is really, really bad, so we need to bend this one little rule about this one amendment, so technically it's infringing on people's rights, but it's okay, it's just for a short time because this problem's really, really bad. And we're like, okay, fine. A couple years later, oh, this other problem, we need to bend this. Oh, we need to make this, we need to break it. We don't even have to bend it, we have to break it. We keep inching and inching and inching and inching. We gave these anti-constitutionalists an inch eons before I was born, probably eons before you were born. If you just, whoever's watching this, it was eons. This problem was created way before any of us were born. My grandma, who's like 70, is the only one to live, was like, hey, these problems didn't exist. Other than that, All these problems happened before we were born. An inch, an inch, an inch, a little thing there. And if someone raises an alarm, it's like, well, it's just an inch, man. What's the big deal? I mean, like, it doesn't inconvenience you that much. It's just this tiny little bending of a rule. It's just this tiny infringement on your right because of this huge problem. So it's no big deal, right? And a couple years later, do the same thing, and people are protesting, like, but it's just a little thing. It's like, yeah, but you already have done 5 little things in the last 5 years. But people don't understand linear time, for example, which I don't understand that. 2018 from 2017 wasn't that different. 2017 from 2016 wasn't that different. Blah, 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 etc., etc. But 2019 compared to 1999 was way fucking different, was way better, because they inch every single year. What we need to do is the earliest thing I can think of. This is a long-winded rant, isn't it? This is covering so many topics. We're going from riots to the Constitution to reality to historical things that happened. I'm going to talk about the 1910s when the income tax was first invented. The income tax is unconstitutional. For the vast majority of our human country's history, we didn't have an income tax. You kept every single penny you made. I know that's alien for us because anyone who's listening to this has never experienced that. But for the vast majority of our country's history, we didn't have an income tax. The moment someone suggested doing that, we should have slammed a hammer down with the Constitution and say, no, this is unconstitutional. We're not going to do it. It's like, yeah, but it's just one tiny tax. You're only paying 20% of your income. Like, what's the big deal? No, we're not going to give you that. Because another year, you're going to introduce another tax. And the next year, you're going to do some other regulation that cuts into small business, whatever. And you're going to keep inching, saying, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? What's the big deal? That's their tactic. The only way to preserve the Constitution and the way this country is supposed to be is to be ridiculously, maniacally strict with breaking people's rights with the Constitution. You don't get to use the excuse, oh, it's just one little thing. You slam the hammer down like, no, zero tolerance. We have a zero tolerance policy for breaking the Constitution and breaking people's rights, period. Because it's a slippery slope, and the slippery slope is so damn steep at this moment, it's a straight 90-degree angle. We're straight free falling at this point. And the Republicans are blamed for this too. It's like, oh, we're the party of fiscal responsibility and conserving American myself. Fuck you. You haven't done jack shit again since Eisenhower. The Republicans are just communist light. Many policies they support are un-American and straight communist. They don't like to admit it though. There's a meme, I don't know if I can find it, I'll put it up, but it's just like, Republicans like, oh, I hate communist. I hate socialist policies. And libertarians like, yeah, I agree with you. Let's talk about Social Security and Medicare. Like, right, what? Because they are. Point me the Constitution where it gives the federal government the right to enact policies such as Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. You won't. It doesn't exist. It's unconstitutional. The Constitution doesn't allow the federal government to do that. You're like, yeah, but there's this one part in like the Bill of Rights or something, like where it says to give people happiness, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So that counts, right? Okay, well, that justifies anything under the sun. That justifies dropping giant teddy bears into people's front yard so they're happy. And you can legally justify that. Just like, no, that doesn't work that way, idiot. Now, I'm going to make a prediction, and maybe totally wrong, because so many people's predictions about 2020 was wildly wrong. I was wrong about stuff. Every YouTuber was wrong about it. Every journalist was wrong, because you can't predict irrational, maniacal behavior. If a person's standing in the middle of the road and a car's coming towards them, you're like, well, I'm going to bet they're going to walk out of the way because, self-preservation kicks in and you walk out of the way. But if a person is a maniacal, blithering retard, then they're just going to sit there and let the car hit them. You can't predict behavior like that. I'm going to predict that they will never, ever be a Republican president again. Not that it matters because they're a fucking useless party. This election has shown the Democrats that they can openly steal a presidential election. And there can be all this evidence and all this sworn affidavits, and nothing happens. There are no consequences. They got away with it. They're like, wow, we got away with it now. So we're going to get away with it next time. We'll just keep doing this. Why wouldn't we? We can guarantee a Democratic president for all eternity. Why wouldn't they? And you're going to be like, well, they only did that because Trump was so bad. No, here's what you don't understand. They will demonize any nominee that the Republicans put forward. They will demonize them just like they did Trump. Before 2015, no one had a problem with Trump. He was a rich guy who had a funny show, and he built hotels, and he was famous, and all the celebrities loved him. He hung out with all these black celebrities. No one thought he was racist. He was just an American icon. No one had a problem with him. No one accused him of sexual assault. No one accused him of being racist until he ran for president. And then Democrats flipped fucking shit and spewed out vile lies and propaganda pieces against him for 5 fucking years. 6 years. 6 calendar years now, because he started running in 2015. It doesn't matter if the Republicans put up Barack Obama or someone just exactly like him. The Democrats would just make up all this shit against him and make up false history. It doesn't matter if Republicans put up the most lily white, hey guys, my name is Todd and I'm a nice Republican. It doesn't matter who they put up. They will demonize and make them out to be Hitler to justify stealing an election. And they will do that every single time. So people think, oh, Trump's out of office, so everything will go back to normal. No, it won't. Biden has the House and the Senate now. There is no one stopping him from passing all of his ridiculous, maniacal, anti-American, anti-constitutional policies. They have the numbers. Nothing's going to stop them. It's like, oh yeah, Republicans will get the House or the Senate maybe in 2020, so they'll be able to block him on stuff. Okay, well, first of all, that means we still have 2 years of acute fucking suffering to deal with until 2020. And why would I ever vote for a Republican again after they are the most useless quote unquote opposition party, which they're not? They're just part of the same machine Democrats are. Why would I ever fucking vote for them again? They're not going to stop jack shit because I'm principled and I don't get dirty fighting. And, well, I'm Mitch McConnell and I'm a retarded tortoise. Like, it doesn't matter if they get the House or Senate in 2020. The same fucking shit's going to happen. The Republicans had the presidents and the Senate during 2020. Look what a fucking shit show 2020 was. They didn't stop jack fucking shit. It doesn't matter. I don't understand why you people don't get it. Vote red to take back the country. It was 2/3 red. In fact, if you count the courts, the Supreme Court, it was 3/4 red. Democrats only had the House. And look what destruction the Democrats were able to do. Republicans don't stop jack fucking shit. How to conclude all this? We're fucked. They're going to be maniacally strict lockdowns. They are going, small businesses as we know it, the ones that still survive at this point, are going to be obliterated. The people out of jobs are going to skyrocket. The people losing their apartments and houses are going to skyrocket. Suicides are going to skyrocket. Crime is going to skyrocket. The middle class is going to be evaporated. The 1% is going to profit. There are going to be new wars. There hasn't been a Democratic president that hasn't started a new war way before I was born. Who are you going to attack now? I don't know. The Middle East, it's too much of a stereotype. We're going to attack someone like, I don't know, some African country. No, that's racist because they're black. We can't do that. Wait, does that apply? I don't know. We should do a bet on what war Biden starts. It won't be with China. That's for damn sure. But yeah, that's the end of it. I don't know what else to say. It's just that legal and peaceful ways are fucked. They don't work. The system will block you at every single point. John F. Kidding, when you make peaceful revolution impossible, you make violent revolution inevitable. I don't know how Democrats can't see this. When you block someone at every single legal and peaceful way and just shut up and suffer, what do you expect them to do? Some people will just lie down and take it. Yeah, that's true, but others won't.